Hey, it's Travis. Too many camp directors run just on gut feel. Our free Resilient Camp Blueprint Diagnostic is your dashboard for resilience. Take it today at camp.mba/Travis. Again, that's camp.mba/Travis. When you look around the way that your camp programs run, are you thinking, maybe this isn't good for us anymore?
This is CampHacker. Come find our show notes and our blog for camp directors and leaders at camphacker.tv.
A big thanks to our sponsors who make the CampHacker podcast possible. You don't lead camp because you love the office, right? UltraCamp has everything you need to manage your program so you can spend more time doing what you love. Manage staff, register campers, take payments, and direct communication all in one place. Find out more at ultracampmanagement.com/camphacker.
Hello, Camp Mavericks, and welcome to the CampHacker podcast, brought to you by UltraCamp and Go Camp Pro. My name is Travis Allison. I am a summer camp marketing and strategy consultant.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Hudson. I'm a DEI consultant and the founder and director of Camp Highlight, a sleepaway camp for kids who have LGBTQ parents. Like I said, we're on Oprah's list, New York Times, The Atlantic. Everyone thinks that Camp Highlight is the best.
Camp Highlight is also on my list and Camp Boro's list, which is where I work. And we focus on creating a positive environment for gender minorities.
And my name is Joe Richards. I'm the executive director at Pierce Williams, which is essentially just Camp Highlight North. So you can join us. We're located halfway between Detroit and Toronto.
This is the new industry standard. How do you position yourself against Camp Highlight? Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Everyone claims spots 2, 3, 4 and beyond because we're at the top. So
there you go. Well, before we get started on the topic, I want to remind you and ask you that the reviews that you do for the show are incredibly important. It helps us just sort of prove to others that this is a valuable show for them. So if you take a second, we'd love it if you would go to ratethispodcast.com/camp. And there's a ratings and reviews button that will spread the ratings and reviews out all over all the possible places where people can read those and learn about CampHacker and learn about how our listeners feel about us. We're super grateful for that. So today it's programs, thinking about evaluating the past and thinking about the future. That's probably the best way to do it. Again, thank you to Matt Wolford, our executive producer and editor, who suggested this topic. Matt's note to us was, what are the program areas of the future and what ones do you think are dumb and should go away? I don't know what we have for them, but I guess I want to start with, how do you evaluate if a program should go away? And then we'll talk some specifics. So what's it for you, Joe? How do you look at stuff and decide if things should stay or go or be changed program-wise?
We evaluate programs every year through the lens of what still applies, right? So we have put into our staffing that we're a culture of change, and that we are not afraid to change. And so certain programs, some which I think are being held on to only because I'm still here, like Pierce Williams' unique program, Battle Stilts, which happens Friday with the whole camp, where staff battle each other on stilts. And every year I'm like, I literally put it out to the staff members and say, should we keep this or should we not? And so I let them do that. There's other programs and program models that I let adjust. We evaluate based on how it happened in a given summer. Now, the challenge right now, coming out of a few years of the pandemic and one successful summer, is that I have people evaluating last year's programs based off of poor data, right? They didn't have and so I'm letting some changes happen that I'm not personally convinced are needed, but if our younger staff feel they need it and it will help them better do their jobs, then I'm willing to see how it goes. Once again, because I'm here for the long term, right? And I know that if it doesn't work, we can help it. So evaluating programs is something we do. Is sort of built into our staff training and with our program directors and camp directors.
That's really interesting, thinking about evaluating stuff over the long term instead of just 1 year. Because also sometimes it just depends on the person. Like, like sometimes we have built a program around one person's skills and they rocked it out and it was amazing for 4 years. And then we tried to find the next person to take over for them. And if we hadn't been intentional or that person hadn't been thoughtful about sharing their skills, then it kind of petered out. And, sometimes it's a good program for a while. You get a stinker of a year with the person. It's just not, they're not passionate enough about it. They're not creative enough about it. And then do that. So I love that. Thank you, Joe, for thinking and reminding us to think long term.
For me, it's camper cost energy is sort of like looking at this. So if we're looking at our mission, how is this getting us closer to our mission? If we're looking at cost, I don't just mean simply finances, but how much time, energy does it take? And then also our staff members, is everybody implicated in the program? Does everybody need to be there? And how much time does this take? Because of COVID, in our family, we lost like very important anniversaries. So our mother turned 65, father turned 70. It was their 45th wedding anniversary. It was our 100th camp anniversary. This was all in 1 year. And so last year we did this quadruple phase of all of these events. That was a surprise for them. And I was with my sister-in-laws and we were setting things up and with my brothers. And one of my sister-in-laws said to me, this is taking like 2.5 hours to 3 hours to set up for like almost like a 45-minute activity that you have set up. And I was like, yes, welcome to camp. And I said, and I think in certain areas at camp, sure, you can put that type of energy because it's impactful, it's memorable, it's wonderful. But are you doing that for every single program? So what are some of those programs that are easy and everybody loves, like it's kind of like food. You're like hot dogs, easy. Everybody loves it. We're going to have it every night. No, but the other ones that take more time is also important. So it's these different things. So cost, energy, and our mission is how I evaluate. And yes, like Joe, our staff is very comfortable now with evaluating, saying, do we really need this program? Is this important?
That's so great. That makes me also reminds me of something I've been speaking about and teaching about lately, the last couple of years, is looking for waste. What is wasted money, wasted human resources, wasted time, even wasted motion. And I've been trying to encourage people, and I've said it on the show before, trying to encourage people to think really small. Like, what can we change today that saves us 2 seconds tomorrow? But I think that's a good tool also to look at programs. Is it something that we love and are excited about and has been a big part of our history, but no one goes to anymore? You tell the kids that they're going to this particular activity next, and they're like, oh, come on, do we have to? Like the personality for Joe's piece, it may depend on the cabin group or the unit and their attitude, but we can try to build up those pieces of data.
I'm just thinking at Camp Highlight, when we started, Quidditch was a huge deal. We used to run Quidditch for the kids. And,
right.
It would close out and we had someone make the hoops and stuff like it, the kids over the years, as the kids aged and they sort of grew out of the age moved on and not as many kids were like obsessed with Harry Potter. Like it's still a huge deal, but not like it was 10 years ago. So it's just on top of that, the author was transphobic. And, for a camp like mine, we had to eject every reference to Harry Potter from our camp to protect our kids. Nevertheless, it was just time for it to move on. And it kind of happened naturally. After a while, the kids stopped signing up for it before we absolutely canned it. And then also, like Joe said, or maybe Travis, I don't remember who said it, but sometimes things are linked to passion. And when the passion is gone for the activity, just kill it. Just kill it. And don't be too precious about it. That's the one thing we had to learn in the beginning because everything felt like we're building a legacy, we're building a history. But like being healthy, it's like gardening. Like the soil's got to turn over, and it's fine. It's absolutely natural. It's part of the evolution in the process.
Does anyone else have any other examples of things that you have got rid of? Something specific or maybe that you're even surprised about that you got rid of?
When we talk about passion programs, and you mentioned it earlier, Travis, and Chris just alluded to it, the idea that a program based off of one person's passion is something I've been very protective not to let be created from the get-go, because unless they can prove to me the longevity of it, I'm not going to invest in let's say 20 ukuleles unless there's a very dedicated way to know. But we got rid of an essential program called Farm Camp that we had set up very intentionally, our World Camp and Farm Camp program, which were two separate things. And we it got to the point where it became more work than it was worth. And we just tore it out. Now, that's not to say that we don't still teach some of the principles of it, but we don't have a dedicated farm camp location. And it's not farming really, it's more garden camp. And so I'm just, a lot of COVID offered the opportunity for us to cancel a program like that without ever having to explain it, just saying it was COVID.
And people would forget automatically because they'd been there for a year or two.
Yeah.
Any examples from World Cup?
Our opening and closing ceremonies, I think they were like 100 kajillion hours long back in the day. And as a kid, I really liked them, but I think I liked them more as an adult, remembering that I was a kid that liked them. I don't know how I felt at the time. There's a lot of poetry, a lot of really high singing. And it was also very stressful. Yes, Chris, it's very cult-like. So it was very stressful because everything had to be exactly, you need to pass this over here at this time and sing to the blah, blah. It's very overwhelming. So we've shifted it and have year by year have been paring it down. And last year it was like, a 40-minute, like, here we go. Here's the poem. Here's this, cheer for this person. And it was fun. It was nice. It was light. And again, there's like intentionality that goes behind it. So those type of things also are overnights, which I think are really, really, really valuable for our campers to have that experience and to build connection with each other. But we were increasingly, our staff members were getting more and more stressed out about going on overnights. And it's just allowed us to evaluate, is this really a program that's worth it in the end? We took it out last year. There's certainly some campers that were sad that we didn't have it. So we're looking at maybe having more campfires or people that do want to go on overnights. Then we have those set up. We just still do have a tripping program, but it's like, what's the tax on our staff as well is something that we're trying to keep in mind, especially when we're trying to provide them with rest and lower their stress levels. Like, how can we make a program that everybody's happy? I think is kind of like the average goal, happy and safe. I'm excited to talk about some of the ones we want to get rid of, because I have a couple of examples that I've heard of that just came to mind.
Well, that's where I'm going to go next, Gab. Like, ones that I've heard that people are like, oh, thank goodness we got rid of. Out tripping and overnights is pretty common. Like, it's an expensive program to run, canoe trips and hiking trips and travel and gas and all of that. Horseback riding all the time. 80% of the people I talk to that have horseback riding are like, if we get rid of it, we would. It's just so much work. It is so expensive. What are some of the ones you've heard, Gab?
For me, because I train CIT coordinators to be accredited for their camps, I have the privilege of hearing a lot of programs that those CIT coordinators think they shouldn't happen anymore at their camps. So basically, this is just my 2 cents. If you are sending people to the hospital or the clinic regularly because of this one program or activity, you got to get rid of it. And the feedback that I get from these CIT coordinators is that it's pushback in 2 ways. It's either pushback from the staff that are controlling the director's board team or whatever, that do not want to get rid of like these old school programs that should have gotten rid of in the 1980s. And they're afraid to upset the staff members because it's part of their legacy and history. Or it's the directors that are like, this is a cool program, we're not getting rid of it. And that there's that middle management that doesn't know how to talk about it. But the amount of times, it's not like 1 or 2 CIT coordinator that's saying, oh, there's this program that we're doing. And I'm like, yikes. It's almost every single coordinator from camps. And they're dangerous physically. I'll just say just physically dangerous. And Yes, I would evaluate your camp for that. Is there one that every year or every other year somebody goes to the clinic because of it? You need to get rid of it.
I have heard of camps who did that same sort of evaluation and gave up on some camp classics like Capture the Flag. Like every time we play Capture the Flag, we send somebody to the hospital. And you're like, it is, people love it. It's certainly a huge history at camp, but it is not worth certainly the pain to the 1 to 3 people who get injured so badly we have to need outside care. And all of that to do it. They're just thinking, how can we be creative about running the same sort of thing, getting the same kind of energy into something that is a little safer.
And it depends on your site, right? Like there's certain facilities where Capture the Flag is perfectly safe and awesome and it's fun. It could be maybe you're changing Capture the Flag so you don't just have that one kid that's super fast that becomes the hero. And there's the rest of the kids that are like, well, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing here. Maybe you're evaluating it so there's opportunities for everybody to share the spotlight. I think there's that type of evaluation. But some of these programs are like sand in the eye, like they're I think creative. I don't want to take away from that, but dangerous. And anyways, it's something to look at. But I think sometimes we have a hard time changing. There's the programs we know we should probably be changing, but we're nervous that either there's a retaliation from our campers or our staff members, or the higher ups don't know, kind of want to keep it, So if you're in that middle management position, just talk to the higher ups with like, if we keep having these type of incidences, that's a sign that somebody can come after us because this is a pattern that we're aware of,
I'm going to take a second now and thank Ultra Camp as well. Ultra Camp, we're grateful for your sponsoring the show. When you're a CampHacker listener, you can increase your staff retention using a brand new tool from Ultra Camp. You can download Ultra Camp's staff communication calendar. It includes pre-written prompts for free, and you can find it at ultracampmanagement.com. When you think about why you chose this job, it wasn't because of the paperwork. I was talking with the group this week about longevity in this career, and one of the biggest pieces of advice was you have to figure out the ways to get through the paperwork to get to the fun stuff. Because of that, that's why Ultra Camp built a platform that really streamlines managing each piece of the details of your program. It's all in one place. So you no longer have to learn and remember several different platforms or programs to run your camp. With Ultra Camp, you can register and manage campers. You can generate and direct communication. You can organize some schedules and activities. You can process payments and donations. Ultra Camp's goal is to help people like you spend less time in the office and get out more and do the thing you love. If you want to know if Ultra Camp is right for you, they offer the free customized demo sessions at that same link. You can see their software in action and get the free download if you go to ultracampmanagement.com/CampHacker. Are there ones, Chris, that you've seen and heard from Not Highlight that the people have been choosing to get rid of?
I can't sign off enough on horseback riding. We cut that a while back because it was such an event. And the kids loved it. And just something you said, Gabz, like retaliation from the kids. Whenever we were going to make a change, we're always like, oh God, we're going to hear it from the kids. These kids, they show up, they're like, okay, what? No horseback riding? Work. All right, moving on. And then 2 years later, they forgot it even happened. They'll look in the old yearbooks and see pictures, be like, oh, I remember we used to do that. And I'm like, that's the idea. The one thing that I always want camps to think about and get rid of, I say this whenever I consult with a camp, color war needs to go. Not the competition.
Yikes.
I love
Yikes.
competition, and I love the idea of the campers working together, learning cooperation, learning to give and take, the older ones taking care of the younger ones, coaching them. There's so much SEL going on in that. Love that. The term color war, people are so attached to it, and I can't figure that out. Part of me just feels like it's people's inner white supremacist. The idea of the color war, that is, depending on what part of the world you're from, if you're from South Africa, color war is actually really an aggressive thing to say. And you want to bring the kids in, people have on their website, we have a color war. I was at a camp this summer, won't name it. they listen. So hi, I was at a camp this summer and I was just watching while they were doing their color war. And let's say their colors were gray and white. And I observed this black kid in a t-shirt that says white across the front of it. And they're all shouting, white team, go white, go white. And I'm just looking at this and I'm like,
I'm laughing awkwardly.
And I'm just looking at this and I was like, if I videoed 6 seconds of this and posted on the internet, like this camp would be in trouble, like out of context. And I mean, to be fair, if you take 6 seconds, anything of camp out of context, sure. But this particularly is just so charged. And I tell every camp, I'm like, can you change the name Color War? People are really attached to it, but hear me now, get rid of it. Call it something else,
And not just the name, Chris, but the colors.
Yeah. The colors.
You don't need white. Like just choose random other colors. I often think about this when I play Crokinole, which is a Canadian game, and I go to Crokinole Club in London. And oftentimes the little Crokinole pieces are black and white, right? And I'm like, sometimes it's really awkward when you're saying it and you're like, yeah, but they're just game pieces. It's like checkers, and I get what you're saying.
I mean, it's one thing on a board game where it's like clear what we're up to. It's so clear. We say, oh, it's Black's turn. It's so clear what we mean. But, when you get a bunch of kids, hugging, jumping him down, screaming, white is the best, it's hard. Yeah. It's just hard to countenance. And what's more, it's so unnecessary. It's shocking. Mm-hmm. At Camp Highlight, we have a year-wide, campus-wide competition. They're split into 4 teams that have names associated with it, elements, histories that are associated with it that aren't necessarily attached to a color, especially not not colors that are so incendiary, such as white, black, brown. It's just too much. So I have been campaigning actively to get rid of the name Color War. That should go away.
And if you don't know what to call it, and you're like, we need to change this now, but we don't know what, just call it your camp's name, games. So like Waro Games, done. And then you can come up with something cool. But the idea is to get rid of this now. And as Chris is saying, not you don't have to change the program itself, but let's change the t-shirts. Let's change some of the language. And if you don't know where to go, just camp happy fun games, whatever your camp's name is, and then move forward. And I think the mistake people make with these type of things is you're trying to convince your board, or you're trying to convince your staff, or you're trying to convince your campers. You don't need to convince anybody that you're changing it. You're saying, team, it's awkward. It's not cool. We're not using the language anymore. This is what it's called. Let's move forward. And then that's that.
Yeah. So I just asked AI what 5 different names for color wars that do not involve color or war. So Team Spirit Showdown, School Spirit Showdown, Summer Games, Camp Olympics, Camp Challenges. All of those are great and work. It's not the best ideas, but it's better than
let
color
the
wars.
Internet solve all of our problems. Let's go.
I literally keep that window open all day. I think to talk about programs that we need to get rid of, I think that anything with the title that is problematic, right? So if it's indigenously titled, but it's not an indigenous program. So if you have a sweat lodge program that's run by one of your local indigenous neighbors, then that's on them to tell you what name you're allowed to call it. But I also think that any program that involves waste, right? So food waste or environmental waste.
Yes.
I think we're getting into, even though in Canada, we are the land of lakes, true. But I think water waste is something that we really need to start looking at differently, especially like if you're an Australian camp, or if you're a Californian or Southwestern United States camp, anything of that nature are programs that just need to, sort of disappear. Anything that's bad that can be very detrimental to the environment. Now, that being said, one of my beliefs is that you should not limit where people can go into your woods, because we also need to have programs where kids can touch and feel and discover, right? And so what I'm saying is that if you're at a conservation authority and you see big signs that say never step off trail, at summer camp, I wrote an article like a decade ago about the fact that we need our kids to go off trail. We need our kids to catch poison ivy. We need our kids to touch plants and find out, because that only by touching and experiencing can they learn what they can love, right? And then they can help protect it in their future, right? So if they don't learn to love trees, you need to touch and hug and feel and fall from a tree to figure out how it fits into your life. But I think a lot of those programs, I also think that programs that are centered too much on equipment need to start being brought into question, because at camps, especially, so set aside horseback riding. Horseback riding is the most expensive camp program, bar none, especially if you own the horses and you keep them. It is just a waste of good energy and time. But like camp programs where the equipment is so specialized. So we've gotten away, we've never had high ropes here at Pierce Williams, but we've gotten away from even having what would be a low ropes or a challenge course, because the expense of keeping it up, the expense of inspections and training and whatnot have just become too arduous when there's so much other regulation we need to meet. And we've turned to a variety of portable initiatives and teamwork and team play elements that we can easily train staff on, that aren't as and would not have someone going to seek healthcare somewhere.
I will add one more thing that I think all camps should get rid of, and I'm often surprised that it hasn't happened already. That is any program, tradition, skits, or whatever that centers out and makes fun of somebody. And I see it more often than I expect. And so that's no good for anybody. And that's another thing I would say, watch for, think about. I remember we, like in the 90s, got rid of old camp traditions that are so old that lots of people won't even know about them, but some camps are still holding on to. We got rid of the elbows on the table rule. It used to be if you got caught with your elbows on the table, you would get centered out. They'd sing a song about you and they'd make you do something silly. And people are like, oh, I love that rule. It's just so fun. And then you're watching a kid cry when it happened to them. They were startled by being yelled at for, just the start of the song is kind of startling. And then, having to stand up on your chair and sing, or all these different things. And the kid cried. We're like, yeah, we're done. Like, we're not going to put anybody in that position anymore. That's not what camp is about for us. So sometimes those are, again, hard-won traditions, but we'll reiterate what we've all said in a different way. The first year can be hard when you make a change that people are, even if they're not passionate about it, like I love elbows on the table rule, but it's just something that's kind of part of camp for them. The next year, they never even remember it happened. So,
well, Travis, I was trying to think, and I don't have the Post-it note next to me, but in the alt MBA program, there's a Post-it note pad that they give out. They're like, "Who's it for?"
Yes,
right. There's 3 questions you ask, and anytime you have an activity like that, you need to ask yourself, well, who is this for? Is this for, right? If there's a program that is centric around Joe being present to lead it, is it really for the campers, or is it for my own self-esteem?
Sure.
Right? Like,
yep.
Is it, great. But like, elbows on the table, or like we've gotten away from doing mail call in the dining hall as well. Because when campers don't get mail, how do they feel? But yeah, who is it for? Every program you run, who's it for?
And if the answer to that is for alumni, then who aren't even there anymore, then that's problematic.
I know we're going long, but I just want to say, like, when it comes to changing, when I consult with camps, usually it's the board. Usually it's the board. They all went to the camp in like the 1960s, the 1940s. And they're like, well, it's been
even
this way.
1980s.
Yeah, I mean, even 1980s, frankly. But really, it's like the like so far ago that it's like you have to understand that things have changed. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, and they'll hold on to these traditions, color war, naming things for Native American tribes or practices. And they're like, oh, but that's what our camp is about. And I'm like, if that's what your camp is about, you're about to have a business problem, not a culture one. So if you're serious about keeping this open, you have to think about how things have changed in the past 40 to 60 years, right? And why should this one thing not change along with all those other things? It's a shockingly difficult conversation to have.
And that's why mission is so important. And in all aspects of the management team need to really understand, especially your board and especially the executive level, what that mission is. And typically, missions should revolve around obviously your campers and your staff members' mental wellness and safety, trying to create a space where that is physically and emotionally safe for campers to be themselves, so elbows on the table. Are you yourself? Not when you're being startled, not when you're anxious every time you go into the dining room that you don't want, to be called. It's the same for Lost and Found. We stopped holding stuff up for Lost and Found. We lay it out and we almost pair like shorts with a t-shirt and a water bottle beside it on the ground where everybody walks by. And obviously it's dry, but it's just a nicer way for people to pick up their things. But if you're always linking back to the mission, then everything is up for discussion. Everything is up for evaluation. And we're centering the care of our kids, at the end of the day. I also just want to say, as somebody that grew up at a horseback riding camp, I love you guys out there that are doing the horse programs. Thank you for doing it. For those that are sent, their whole camp is about horses. Keep trucking, y'all. I appreciate you. But if you have those 3 horses on camp and it's, only 12% of your population is using those horses, then maybe rethink it. But I know that the horse people are having a hard time these days.
Yeah, Gab, based on that, it's also this idea with programs, don't add it if you're just adding it to be in competition with somebody else, right? So horseback riding might be a nice idea, but you have no idea how expensive it's going to be, So somebody's like, we should do out trips. And I'm like, no, there are many camps that do canoe trips and out trips better. And we can send kids there. People want high ropes. Great. We can send them down to Guestwood to do high ropes. But we're not investing, $80,000 to put in a new course and whatnot.
I think that we have to be way more intentional about, and there are lots of camps that do this well, but they have to be way more intentional about inclusivity for all sorts of different things. We can't just have camp be for able-bodied middle-class white kids.
Which, by the way, is a sell. Like that's you actually have to sell that to people because it's easy to say. And then I can't tell you how many rooms I've been in to be like, okay, now hold on for a second. When you say camp isn't just for able-bodied white kids, is that, and I'm like, I can't believe I have to say more. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard out there, everybody.
Probably not the kind of people who listen to CampHacker, but you just never know. So that's my sort of closing philosophical thing. Anything from anybody else that would wrap up about this? Okay, Joe, I'm going to give you the final word on this.
I think when you're getting rid of programs, you need to lean into your strengths and not if something is taking too much time. So in thinking into the future, right, I think about relationship-based programs and programs that teach people teach the skills that the society doesn't happen to be teaching them right now, or that they've missed out on from the pandemic. And I think that as we get rid of certain programs, as long as we do it intentionally, I often think about a 3-year window, that when you change something, 3 years from now, nobody's going to remember it was ever a thing. And that could be taking bunk beds out of the top of this farmhouse, and 3 years later, nobody mentioned it, and you're done. So once you cancel a program or remove a program, and you don't need to do it with fanfare, you just walk away from it. Indifference is better than just like always announcing. And remember, we don't have low ropes. Just never talk about low ropes again and move on.
Excellent. Thank you all. Now we move on to our Tool of the Week.
Tool of the Week.
Quick reminder, tool of the week is something we ask that makes people a better camp director. In we've lots of elements. We have had tools of the week that have been free, and I think our most expensive tool of the week has been about $80,000. And yes, Chris, we had a tractor.
What was that tool?
A
that
tractor.
Was 80,000. A tractor? Who
It was
recommended a tractor?
It's a Bobcat toolcat.
Never mind.
It does
That's-
everything.
Never.
And
I
it's
know.
now
I know who
well
recommended
over
it. Never mind.
$80,000.
Okay,
Yeah, I think
great.
it's 120 grand now for one.
So everyone run out there and get a tractor.
Well, it was a very particular one that had a lot of purpose. It wasn't just to get a tractor. Anyway, what is a tool? What is your tool of the week, Joe?
My tool this week is a gridded cutting mat, a giant gridded cutting mat that you often see used for fabric cutting. So dressmaking,
Scrapbooking and stuff.
scrapbooking. This one's huge. It's 36 by 59. I've put a link in the show notes to Joanne Fabrics because it's $80. But if you use a coupon, you can get it for 40% off. I bought one the other day for $48 US. And it is, my use for it is that it just goes on my workshop table, which is a bench dog table. So it has a whole bunch of small holes in it. And this cutting mat, I can do anything on. I can glue, I can cut, and glue will just peel off because it's a plastic. And it's not quite a self-healing mat, but it'll last for years.
Excellent.
Interesting idea for a craft area at camp. Or a
Totally.
space.
Save your craft tables, lay these out on leatherworking,
Yeah.
pottery. Like there'd be so many workshop and great one, Joe. Thank you. I'm really excited.
Don't
about this.
forget, use the coupons when you're at Joanne Fabrics.
And the coupons are available apparently through the Joanne Fabrics app.
For sure they are.
There you go. Lessons learned from
Is
Joe.
Joanne Fabrics a sponsor now? What was that enthusiasm, Joe?
No, the quick story is that I tried to buy this in Canada and it was $230 Canadian. And then it was going to be on sale for half price. And then I went to Port Huron, Michigan, and it was $80. And then I got it 40% off of that. So like use the coupons. That's just a general tool. Use coupons.
Always look for the coupon.
Work. That's awesome.
Yeah. Chris, what's your tool?
So when the pandemic started, I remember Tom Ford had posted about, how to have a Zoom meeting. And the one thing my takeaway from that was that the camera should be at eye level. And I was like, it just makes for a more natural sort of thing. And so I invested in a laptop stand and it has changed my life. Now, a lot of people probably have this now. So maybe everyone out there is like, oh, Chris, thanks for your tool of the week circa 2020. But you know what the thing is, if you don't have a laptop stand, you're the only one and everyone will make fun of you. So I'm not recommending any particular one, but like literally it's 2023. You should not be having Zoom meetings where people are looking up your nose or at your chin or the angling the back. Like we are professionals and we should present ourselves as that. So go to Amazon, search for a laptop stand, buy any of them, and you know what? Buy a laptop stand. Don't put on a whole bunch of books. So like I said, you're doing well. You can afford a $40 laptop stand. Also, bonus tool of the week. I got this cell phone stand.
Yeah.
Such a simple idea. I didn't think I needed it. Now I can't live without it.
Okay.
So my recommendation then is to stands for your various devices.
Well, and I want to say, Chris, you're sort of making light of it. Like this is better for your Zoom, which I agree. The camera should be at your eye level or just slightly above it. But ergonomically, it's important. Like if you have ever gone to
Exactly.
chiropractic or massage, and they're like, "Well, you got a pretty bad case of computer neck," and you're like, "Oh yeah, you're right," because I am hunched over all the time. But if your screen is up, then you can. Yes, it's better. I have chronic neck problems, so that's my thinking as well. I'll add on to that. So thank you. I'm going to go next. We'll have Gab go last. The tool of the week for me is shade. We need to, going forward, be incredibly thoughtful about shade. If you own your own facilities, plant more trees, build picnic shelters, build anything that'll catch a breeze that the kids can get out of the sun. I was talking to a group this week thinking about the future of camp, and that was just one of the things. We need to build buildings with really deep porches. So that kids can be in the shade, but still, right by their bunk, right by their stuff. If they're, a day camp, every cabin, every unit in a day camp, like they should have their own little covered space where they can sit down, they can relax, they can get out of the shade, they can get water, they can do whatever. It is incredibly important. We need to be thinking about it going forward. And I encourage you to shade everywhere. Over every entrance, there should be a 20-foot shade thing. And the nice thing about shade is it provides nice little places for people to gather. Like I'm talking about doing it for their health, but it just is a good community thing too. You'll find that people are gathered around there in the shade just naturally, around the base of a great big leafy tree or even under just one of those portable garage shelters that are set up at some program areas that are in the middle of a wide open field. Use shade. Gab, what's your tool?
I love that. My tool is a tool that's free that can edit any of your archive pictures that you might have. So if there's scratches or if just for fun, you're like, oh, I wonder what this would look like in no longer like black and white in color. I think it's really fun for posting on Instagram if you have any of those old pics and you sort of want to show the digitized, but it's also great for your archive. So it's called Image Colorizer. You can, of course, pay for it, but it's basically, you can get like a pic done a day. I think it's something that if you do have older pictures, then you can sort of update them and make them look cute. There's so many programs out there. This one's just one that you can use from your desktop, any desktop that you have.
Excellent. Thank you. I'll remind you all, go to camphacker.tv/podcast and you will find the show notes there. You'll find the links to our other shows, etc. But tool of the week are all throughout camphacker.tv/podcast. Thank you all for your tools. Before we go, before I say goodbye, I want to just take a second and highlight another Go Camp Pro podcast. If you're not listening to the Camp Owners podcast, you really should be. Even if you are not a camp owner or have no intention of being, they have Howie and Kelly have such good guests, such thoughtful topics, and they're putting out less shows this year. And I've found that means that their insights are more intense. Their thoughtfulness is more intense. And it is definitely worth a listen, and getting the Camp Owners pod in your podcast app automatically, or subscribe to Go Camp Pro on YouTube and get it and CampHacker and all of our other shows delivered to you there as well. Thank you to the three of you. If you want to reach Joe, Gabz, and Chris, go to camphacker.tv/podcast to find their contact information. Chris, thanks for being on the show this week.
Yay, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Joe. I'm so grateful.
To you as well, Travis.
Bye, Gabz.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for the evening, friends.
The Camp Hacker podcast is brought to you by Beth and Travis Allison, summer camp leadership training and marketing consultants. Thanks for listening.
Hey, Camp Pros. We love that our industry is built on sharing. In order to foster that spirit, if you've gotten even one good idea from a Go Camp Pro podcast, a masterclass, from the Summer Camp Pros group on Facebook, at a conference, or wherever else, we ask that you give credit where credit is due. That way, we can encourage camp pros to keep freely sharing their brilliant ideas and make the camp industry better. Thanks very much.
Hello, Camp Mavericks, and welcome to the camp. Noting the time. Hello, Camp Mavericks, and welcome to the camp.
Leave this in. I think people need to know how the sausage gets made.
Matt should just make a dump of dumb errors.
Don't tempt me.
In a file, and one day when it gets to an hour, then they'll just send out an hour of bloopers. Hello, Camp Mavericks, and welcome to the camp. What the hell? Hey, it's Travis. Camp directors often tell me they're just too tired to take on anything new. That's exactly why my free Resilient Camp Blueprint Diagnostic exists. It doesn't add work, it shows you progress. Quick, free, repeatable, you'll know if your systems are paying off without the guesswork. Try it today at camp.mba/Travis. That's camp.mba/Travis.